President of the Parliament, let me begin by saying that remembrance is a constant duty, and I'd like to thank you for marking today with Europe's voice. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our last European Council meeting was a pivotal one because our decisions are awaited. They are awaited by citizens and families facing astronomical gas and electricity bills, awaited by businesses, large and small, hit by unsustainable energy costs and inflationary pressure, and awaited by many European governments worried about their shrinking budgetary margins. And despite initial different views, we overcame these differences, and we agreed on a plan that covers the different paths of action. The European Council had on many occasions asked the Commission to make concrete proposals in 3 areas: to curb energy prices, to ensure security of supply, and to reduce demand. And several proposals were put on the table some time ago, and another package was tabled shortly before our meeting of the European Council. At our European Council meeting, we set out a plan of action with a framework of 9 concrete measures, and we asked the Commission to urgently put concrete legislative proposals on the table. The war in Ukraine and the energy crisis have directly impacted our economies and our citizens. It's time to act. Kicking the can further down the road is no longer an option. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, when we join forces and buy together, we boost our bargaining power and we can get a better deal. Now it's also time to put our joint gas purchasing into action. This will be voluntary, except for volumes corresponding to 15% of the necessary stocks, which will be subject to mandatory joint tenders. Finally, it's vital that we negotiate effectively and rapidly with our reliable partners. They are also our close allies, like Norway and the United States. Our EU prosperity and economic security are also key to their prosperity and economic security. It doesn't make sense that their exceptional profits due to the war in Ukraine should make Europeans poorer, our economies weaker, and our industries less competitive. And this just to maintain our gas imports. So these negotiations must move forward without delay. Ladies and gentlemen, the price of gas on the international market has gone down substantially since August, but it remains much higher than before the war in Ukraine. It's critical that we get these prices down while also ensuring our security of supply, and the European Commission is tasked with preparing a new complementary benchmark by early 2023, and this new benchmark should better reflect the reality of the European gas market. The Commission is also tasked with developing a dynamic price corridor to reduce price volatility in natural gas transactions as soon as possible. And finally, the European Council awaits a proposal for a temporary cap on the price of gas for electricity generation supported by a cost-benefit analysis. Finally, we discussed how we can support the resilience of our economies to protect our families, our businesses, and to preserve our single market, the pillar of our prosperity, while avoiding fragmentation. We also need to protect the competitiveness of our companies compared to other regions of the world. We are already seeing, for instance, the first incentives for our companies to relocate their factories, notably across the Atlantic. So we must closely coordinate our national policies, and we've also agreed to mobilize all appropriate financial tools at national, at European and European level to maintain a level playing field within our union. The Council will monitor the situation closely and act to ensure an appropriate policy response. Yes, these issues are complex, but you have entered into these debates confronting any taboos. Mesdames et messieurs, ce Conseil a aussi été l'occasion
Ladies and gentlemen, the Council was also an opportunity to once again look at an issue that is at the heart of all our concerns, the war in Ukraine. We held discussions in Prague, and this was another opportunity to reiterate our determination to support Ukraine as much as possible financially, first and foremost. So we'll continue to work to implement the promise of 3 billion additional euros for macro financial assistance to Ukraine. We also committed ourselves to work towards more structured financing, and the Commission proposal will be looked at very closely for next year. This will be a signal of stability being sent out to Ukrainians. We also want to continue our efforts in the military sphere and also the humanitarian and political spheres. As you're aware, the German Chancellor, together with the Commission, recently held a reconstruction conference in Berlin, and we support those efforts that are being made by Europeans together with our partners and allies. We also had the opportunity in the Council to ensure that there was no impunity and use national and international justice systems to ensure that those who are responsible for war crimes respond for their crimes. Finally, during this Council meeting, we held an essential strategic debate on relations between the European Union and China. And this just a few weeks after an important political event took place in China. Firstly, we note that the Chinese political and institutional system is radically different to ours. In Europe, we have values that we hold dear: personal freedoms, human rights, press freedom, freedom of expression. Censorship does not have a place in the European Union, and all leaders reaffirmed their commitment to constantly be on their guard when it comes to protecting these essential values. We believe we have a responsibility to defend human rights and democratic principles. Secondly, and this is clearly shown by the war in Ukraine, it is crucial for Europe to be independent and autonomous vis-à-vis China in many areas. We don't want to be dependent on China. For example, rare earth materials, which are essential for the future in terms of technological innovation. We want to see more reciprocity, more of a level playing field. These are all crucial things for us looking to the future. And then a third point, when it comes to global issues, the climate, for example, it's essential to work together with all our partners in the world so that we can deal with the environmental threat, just as we did for COVID when we responded to the pandemic. Well, we need to do the same in other areas. The European Council is very aware of how China is developing, how China sees the world and how it's acting in multilateral fora, and our aim is to ensure that our values and principles and interests are defended, and we need to push our vision, which is crucial to the dignity of every individual human being. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, this debate was an opportunity for leaders to express themselves on the latest developments in Iran. Initial sanctions decisions have been taken, and member states are currently continuing to work to implement additional sanctions. And we hope that European leaders will firmly condemn the repression that's taking place against peaceful demonstrators in Iran, and we welcome the extraordinary courage of these women and young and girls who are mobilizing to defend their dignities and rights, and we want to support them in doing that. Thank you.
I give the floor now on behalf of the Commission, the President Ursula von der Leyen.